Hey, scrappy people, it's Tracy Reed here today, and today I am working on a 12 by 12 companion layout to a layout I did a couple weeks ago of Joe with the camera. This is the one that's going right next to it, and actually the photo on that layout, and I'll have that layout at the end so you can see them together, that photo on that layout is him taking a picture, these pictures. So we were taking photos of each other while we were taking pictures. And so I wanted to tell both stories together. And so I'm using the My Story Matters collection, just like I did with that layout. And I printed on white cardstock again, just like with that layout, but instead of printing mixed media, I printed my journaling and my title using the alphabets from the digital kit directly onto the paper. And I'm building a central sort of composition with that title and journaling as, like the anchor. So I wanted to do a rainbow sort of effect with these papers. So I'm building from the title up to the top of the page in rainbow order. And this is going to be a really simple layout. It comes out really, it doesn't feel super simple when it's done, but it is a super simple layout in how it comes together compositionally. So I'm going to use both of these photos stacked up on top of each other, but I did decide that they needed a white border around the edge, and unfortunately I had not trimmed a white border, but I really felt like a white border would separate them from those colors a little bit better than just having these sort of dark photos sit directly on the colors. So I'm just using a scrap piece of card and adding a white border around the edges of both with my paper trimmer. And I think that that helps a little bit too. You know me, I'm not normally a scrapper who scraps on white directly a lot. Like I love color in the background, and I just don't love stark white cardstock, but I do love how this duo of layouts came out with the white cardstock. And I thought about adding in some digital mixed media on these as well, or even some real mixed media on this one as well to match the other. But I do think that having the style contrast just a little bit between these two layouts, they match wonderfully, but the style is just slightly different between the two. I think that that really adds to the composition of both spreads together as a whole. And again, you'll see at the end the two pages together, and you can make your own decision about that. I don't want anything to be perfectly straight because the alphabet is not perfectly straight. They don't have a standard baseline, the words don't. So I'm making everything just sort of a little bit crooked, a little bit wonky, and that's okay. The theme of this collection is about telling your own story, and the layout that I'm matching to this one was a story about how Joe reminded me of me at his age with his photo taking. And then this is a page about just reflecting on how I look through his eyes or through the kid's eyes, and how when you're a kid, you don't really think of your parents as a whole human being, right? You think of them as how they're there to serve you, which is fine and normal. And so that's kind of what I was reflecting on in this layout. Like how do you see me? How do we, or how will you remember me, kind of a thing. So I don't often see photos of myself. My husband doesn't take a lot of photos. So any photos that I have, I either set up myself or, I'm intentionally having taken. So these sort of candid photos of me from Josiah's perspective were really kind of a gift, and I thought that they deserved to be highlighted because the photos themselves are pretty great. Joe did a great job, but also because this is a perspective of me in my album that we don't often see. So I'm just building clusters, and again, I'm doing them in a rainbow sort of, not perfect, but rainbow sort of order. So the pink at the top, the yellow in the middle, the blue and the green at the bottom. And I'm trying to fit in some of these word bits because I did have quite a few word bits that I wanted to use. Well, I guess not quite a few compared to how I normally use the heck out of word bits, but I did have some, and putting them in this composition was a little bit hard, especially that thankful for this story one. It just feels so large and kind of sticking out. And also, I noticed that it throws off the center balance of this layout a little bit, which sort of bugs me. And so I sort of try and correct it with the embellishments that I add after these floral and heart clusters. You can see me kind of looking, going, oh no, we're off centered here. So what's funny is I just got a new order from Citrus Twist Kits. I've ordered some new albums, and Citrus Twist always includes little sequins and things in their boxes like as decoration, but these match this layout perfectly. There's green, there's blue, there's yellow, and there's sort of that corally red, and so I decided to just use them. Normally they just kind of get shuffled in or thrown away, but this was perfect, right? They look like they were planned that way or intended to be used on this layout, so I'm going to use them on this layout. So I'm sort of adding them where they go color wise as well. And when I start adding these sequins and sort of widening the composition a bit, I feel like the title feels too skinny. Like it's just, it's like weird, right? There's nothing, there needs to be something on either side of that title, or at least that's what I was feeling. So that's kind of where I'm going to start concentrating next once I get all of these sequins laid down. And then I also decided to incorporate some of the outlined flowers from the collection, the navy ones, into those clusters as well, because I felt like they didn't quite have enough impact with just the colors. Like they felt like they were just floating out in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to add in some of those little, those little flowers, and I felt like that was perfect. It really anchored that whole composition and made me feel like it felt more done. So I'm going to, I tried to add in more than 3, but you know me, I always have to have 3 of everything, and everything else felt off balance. So I'm going to start putting those down. Then I'm going to work on figuring out what's going on with this title down here at the bottom. And in the end, I decide I want that camera on the right hand side there, because obviously. But then I decide that even though I had been avoiding it, I think I'm just going to add in some florals, because they really help to frame the title really well. And so that's what I'm going to end up going with, even though I thought for a long time and tried to figure out something else to do, maybe mixed media, maybe all these hearts, but it just wasn't working out, like filling up the space enough for me on that left-hand side. So I'm going to add in a couple of these little hearts, but I am going to add one more floral to frame the title, and it looks great. I tried to avoid too many florals, but you know, it's a layout of me, so I can have as many flowers as I want. And it really does, like they frame perfectly. So it works. But that is about it for this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. And the side-by-side comparison of both videos is coming up, or both layouts is coming up. All right, thank you.